Hello and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Alex Lippic, and kindly joining me in the studio today is Narendra Mistry, CPTO Universal Banking at Finastra. Welcome, it's great to see you.
Hi Alex, thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure to have you here. We'll start by setting the scene, if that's okay.
Sure.
So both technology and customer expectation are evolving at a rapid pace, arguably, at the moment. How do banks keep up, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The technology is so rapid. I mean, you only have to look at the Gen AI stuff and all of a sudden you realize the amount of users that have come on board in the last 2 years or so, literally. So completely agree. I think the real focus is to make sure that you have the right technology, the right technology partner. But before all of that, you have to have the vision and making sure you understand what is it that you're trying to achieve. And then, of course, the people side of things is also a matter when you come to looking at the whole kind of piece, putting it together. I mean, I can give you an example of, one particular customer of ours who made a decision from a vision perspective to serve the underbanked, right, in Asia. And they took it upon themselves to have a solution that will reach out to customers that don't normally come into a branch. There's no such thing as brick and mortar in those particular places, apart from the mobile phone. So from that perspective, to be able to get out there and reach that particular community is phenomenal, to have the vision, the technology partner, and then of course the people, culture to actually get that delivered from that perspective. But of course, we all know about the fact that when you look at these technologies, people think that you have to have that change so rapid, but for the customers to actually go about delivering that change is not so easy. And you have to think about how do you take that whole approach. Is it a big bang shot approach or is it a gradual approach? We think a symbiosis approach is much, much better, where you can take the piece that you really want to deal with and focus on that vision and start to deliver that.
Really fascinating, and thank you for sharing those examples. You mentioned symbiosis. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that for me?
Sure, yeah. I think many people think today that you really have to replace the whole solution in one go. And I think one of the important elements is that when you look at a symbiosis approach, it means to say that you just take the piece of capability that you're looking for in parallel with your existing solutions. So that gives you an opportunity to actually trial out and make sure that next generation technology and the solution you developed is actually working, and then in due course look at migrating that across, from your existing systems to the new solutions as you see fit. And of course, part of that whole architecture is to make sure that the business microservices are in place in order to support the business for the year 2, year 3, etc. as you come along.
Really interesting insight. Thank you for sharing. We're seeing at the moment the emergence of a lot more neo and digital-only banks as well. They have, of course, their lean and mean, core banking systems in play. Do you think these are, or this is the secret to success for challenger banks?
I think it's yes and no. I mean, let's set a little bit of context as to where they've come from. So prior to the pandemic, there was a huge number of neobanks wanted to get out there and look at new business, new vision, etc. And obviously the pandemic has seen various things change. We've also seen the economy change as well. And that's given rise to the fact that money is more expensive, so the investment's gone down low. So the actual business case has to be very real and very pertinent from that perspective. So I think that there is definitely a sea of change when it comes to the way in which neobanks want to participate in the newer world of technology. But I think what it also comes to show is that how well are they really stocked up in order to go through the right business case all the way through. Now, I have an example of one of our customers who made a decision to think about taking that approach of looking at the latest technology, but not understanding its relevance in terms of what does it mean for the next day and the next step. And they found themselves in a situation where they took that technology, but in order to support a full banking solution, they needed so many partners that it became unfathomable for them to actually achieve that. So they have to go back and rethink about how to go about doing that. Now, this is something which I have seen a few times now, and it's important to realize that actually when you have a product for example, like our Essence solution in this world, you have to think about the fact that can you actually do your day one business, but can you see the capability for day 2, day 3, day 4? And this is where we come in and say we have the technology, but we also have the breadth of functionality. And that's a piece that people sometimes forget. And it's great to make that start, but then what happens after year 1, or even if you don't get to year 1? So it's an important piece to consider from that perspective.
You mentioned that you have the technology. How are you actually helping financial institutions stay ahead of their competitors effectively?
Yeah, so of course, the key word today is Gen AI. We're looking at how do we deliver the best of abilities for our customers. And our customers have a huge amount of data that they collect. And you have to think about how do you take that data and make that usable for them in a much more efficient and a faster method so that they can take products to go to market much more quicker. So as an example, maybe something like a hyper campaigns allows you to take a product manager in a bank that says, I've got so many products out there, etc., but I don't have the time to do all the analysis because it could take you a few weeks or even months, some cases, depending on what comes out of those reports. But if you had that opportunity of a dashboard that gives you that insight within a few hours or even minutes, that then allows you to transform your business and growth accordingly to the direction you want to take from that perspective. The other thing, of course, important is the APIs, right? It's important that you have an open core solution that allows you to support a good ecosystem. And the fintech ecosystem is really important in today's age, right? From the ability to create the best user experience you can deliver to a customer.
You mentioned AI there, clearly a huge topic at the moment. How do you think, Narendra, can banks and financial institutions successfully navigate AI, data and technology in general?
So I think there's a number of things here. First of all, the mindset. I spoke a little bit earlier about the fact that you need to have the right technology, the technology partner, etc. One of the elements was people, and the culture is really important from that perspective. And you have to think about how do you make sure that you have alignment, focus, and then, of course, the confidence, and then the teamwork to achieve that. And those are the building blocks that you need to make sure that you kind of deliver to that solution. And then, of course, you have to have the right technology, the solution, the next generation solution. And you have to think about what does SaaS really mean in today's world. And people forget that you're no longer thinking about on-prem solutions and you've got an IT team looking after all of that. Instead, today, you have an opportunity to take a business service, which is what a SaaS offers, and allows you to focus on the business while we take care of the technology. And I think these are the pieces that makes a lot of sense. And we also talked about symbiosis a little earlier in the sense of how do we make sure that you can continue to do your business, but also look at the next generation of businesses that you want to acquire by thinking about how do you take newer pieces of technology that gives you the ability for the depth and breadth of day 2, day 3, day 4. And I think this is the piece that we've got to really focus on. And how do you make sure that as technology is evolving, you have to think about adapting, evolving, and then thriving from that perspective. And so these are the kind of scenes that makes most going forward.
It's fascinating how many components you mentioned go into the process, and it'll be great to see how things develop moving forwards as well. I wish we could talk for longer, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you in the studio, Narendra.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.